Ever heard of the 70-20-10 budget rule? No? Well, you're about to master your money. This rule is a simple yet powerful tool for managing your finances, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Picture your income as a pie. According to this rule, you slice that pie into 3 distinct pieces: 70%, 20%, and 10%. Each piece serves a specific purpose in your financial journey, helping you balance your needs, wants, and future goals. Sounds interesting, right? Well, it's more than just interesting. The 70-20-10 budget rule is a practical approach to budgeting that can help you gain control over your money and ultimately your life. You see, when it comes to managing money, it's not about how much you earn, but rather about how wisely you use what you have. So are you ready to learn more about this rule? Stick around to dive deeper into the 70-20-10 rule and how it can transform your financial life. Let's unravel the first component of the 70-20-10 rule, the 70% dedicated to living expenses. Now, what does this mean exactly? Well, it suggests that you should allocate 70% of your income to cover your day-to-day costs. We're talking about rent or mortgage payments, groceries, utilities, transportation, and everything else that falls under the umbrella of daily living expenses. Let's put this into perspective with an example. Imagine you're someone who brings home $4,000 each month. According to the 70-20-10 rule, you should be setting aside around $2,800 for your living expenses. That's 70% of your income. But why 70%, one might ask? This percentage is not an arbitrary number. It's designed to provide a balance. It ensures you can comfortably meet your daily needs without feeling financially strained, while also making sure you're not overspending and leaving nothing for savings and investment. It's important to note that this 70% is a cap, not a target. The goal is not to spend all of this allocation, but rather it's there to ensure that you have a limit on your living expenses. It's a way of keeping your spending in check. If you find yourself routinely exceeding this 70% mark, that could be a sign that you need to reassess and recalibrate your spending habits. To successfully implement this, you might need to track your expenses, perhaps by keeping receipts or using a budgeting app. And don't forget, what counts as a living expense may vary from person to person. For some, a gym membership is a necessity, for others, it's a luxury. So it's crucial to understand your specific needs and priorities. Remember, the goal isn't to spend the whole 70%, but to ensure you have a cap on your living expenses. This is the first step to mastering your money. But it's only one part of the equation. The 70-20-10 rule also includes financial priorities and long-term savings, which we'll dive into next. Moving on, let's decipher the 20% of the rule, your financial priorities. Think of this 20% as your golden parachute. It's the portion of your income that you'll be directing towards your financial priorities. This could be anything from paying off debt, to saving for a rainy day, to making investments that will grow your wealth over time. Picture this. Let's return to our earlier example where your monthly income is $4,000. If you're following the 70-20-10 rule, $800 of your income should be set aside for these financial priorities. Now, how you divide this $800 is entirely up to you, and it depends on your personal financial situation. For instance, if you have a significant amount of debt, you might decide to allocate a larger portion of this 20% towards paying it off. And there's a good reason for that. The sooner you're debt-free, the sooner you can start putting more money towards your savings and investments. On the other hand, if you're fortunate enough to be debt-free, you might choose to split this 20% between savings and investments. You could put some money into a high-yield savings account for emergencies, and invest the rest in stocks, bonds, or real estate. Remember, the goal here is to create financial stability and growth. This 20% isn't for splurging on the latest tech gadget or booking that dream vacation. It's for securing your financial future. There's a saying that goes, pay yourself first. And that's exactly what this 20% allows you to do. It's a way of ensuring that you're building wealth and creating a safety net for yourself, no matter what life throws your way. So whether you're paying off debt, saving for a rainy day, or investing for the future, this 20% is a crucial part of your budget. It's your tool for achieving financial independence and wealth. This 20% is your ticket to financial freedom, so don't neglect it. And finally, we have the 10%, your long-term savings. Now, the last piece of the 70-20-10 budgeting puzzle is the 10% that's meant for your long-term savings. This chunk of your income is what you squirrel away for the future, for things like retirement, a down payment on a house, or even a dream vacation you've been planning for years. It's all about securing your financial stability down the road. Let's break it down with our previous example. Say you're earning $4,000 a month. Following the 70-20-10 rule, the 10% you'd set aside for long-term savings would be $400. It might not seem a lot right now, but let's think about the potential it holds. Imagine you're putting that $400 into a savings account or an investment fund each month. Over a year, that's $4,800 saved. Over 5 years, that's $24,000. And over a decade, you've amassed a whopping $48,000, and that's not even considering any interest or returns you might earn on those savings. This 10% is your safety net, your peace of mind. It's there for when you want to make a significant investment in your future, or when life throws you a curveball, and you need a financial cushion to land on. It's about thinking ahead and building a solid foundation for yourself. But remember, this isn't a race. The idea isn't to amass a fortune overnight. It's about consistent, disciplined saving over time. So don't be disheartened if your 10% isn't as much as you'd like it to be right now. The key is to start where you are and keep at it. Over time, you'll see how this 10% grows and becomes a testament to your financial foresight. This 10% might seem small, but over time, it adds up to a substantial nest egg. Now that we've broken down the 70-20-10 rule, how do you implement it? Well, let's dive into that. The first step to implementing the 70-20-10 budget rule is to track your income. That's right, every single penny that comes your way, you need to account for it. Whether it's your paycheck, a random windfall, or even the change you found in your couch cushions. Knowing exactly how much money you have coming in is the bedrock of this budgeting rule. Once you've started tracking your income, the next step is to categorize your expenses. This is where the 70, 20, and 10 come into play. Start by identifying what expenses are necessary for your day-to-day living. These will fall under the 70% category. This could include rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, and transportation. Next, determine what your financial priorities are. This is the 20% category. Think about things like paying off debts, saving for a rainy day, or investing for your future. Lastly, identify what you want to save for long-term. This is your 10% category. Maybe it's a dream vacation, a new car, or even a down payment for a house. Let's take a practical example. Meet Alex. Alex is just starting to implement the 70-20-10 budget rule. He tracks his income and finds that he's spending more than 70% of his income on living expenses. He realizes he needs to adjust his spending habits. He starts cooking at home more often, cuts back on unnecessary subscriptions, and starts carpooling to work. With these changes, Alex is able to bring his living expenses down to 70%, allowing him to allocate 20% of his income towards paying off his student loans, and 10% towards saving for a down payment on a house. Implementing the 70-20-10 budget rule isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuous process of tracking, categorizing, and adjusting. But remember, it's not about perfection. It's about making conscious decisions about where your money goes. It may take some time to adjust, but once you do, you'll see the benefits. So, why should you consider the 70-20-10 rule? What are the benefits? Well, let's dive into that. Firstly, this rule promotes financial discipline. It's a roadmap that guides your spending, saving, and investing habits. It's like having a personal finance coach nudging you along, helping you to stick to your budget. Secondly, it ensures adequate allocation of resources. By dividing your income into 3 clear categories, you ensure that your living expenses, financial priorities, and long-term savings each receive their fair share. No more wondering where all your money went at the end of the month. Lastly, the 70-20-10 rule sets you on the path to financial freedom. By consistently saving and investing, you're building a financial cushion for the future. You're preparing for unexpected expenses, planning for retirement, and maybe even creating a nest egg for that dream vacation. So with the 70-20-10 rule, you're not just budgeting, you're mastering your money. Mastering your money isn't rocket science, and the 70-20-10 rule proves that. It's a straightforward strategy that can guide you towards financial freedom. Let's quickly recap. 70% of your income goes to living expenses, those necessary costs that keep our day-to-day lives running smoothly. 20% is earmarked for financial priorities like clearing debt or building an emergency fund. The final 10%? That's for long-term savings, your ticket to a comfortable future, or maybe even an early retirement. The beauty of this rule lies in its simplicity. It's flexible enough to accommodate changes in income or expenses, and it's a great way to get a handle on where your money is going. It puts you in the driver's seat, giving you the power to shape your financial future. The benefits are clear: less stress about money, more financial security, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're on track to meet your financial goals. So, are you ready to master your money with the 70-20-10 rule? Let us know in the comments below.